Oh crap! Looks like I've opened up some kind of hole into the space-time continuum! Either that or I'm just an idiot filming the opening of my Happy Death Day to You review out in the middle of a hurricane.
Hey, it's still not my birthday, and now I'm stuck in another dimension. Wait, what?
Happy Death Day to You is a movie that I enjoy, but it's also one I have a few issues with. One of the biggest differences tone-wise in Happy Death Day sequel is there's far less horror this time around. This movie focuses a bit more on the comedy and sci-fi aspects, though the horror vibe isn't completely gone. You know what is gone, though? The poisoned cupcake, so it's kinda odd they use that on the cover.
Where's the cupcake?
What cupcake?
The one you poisoned.
Oh, that cupcake. I don't know what stupid joke Danielle put you up to, but there's no cupcake.
Something the sequel adds, though, is a scientific reason why the loops happen, which is something I'm kinda torn on. It worked just fine in the first movie, not having the loops explained, and it just seeming like this was a weird mystical gift Tree was sort of given so she could avoid a terrible fate, start to straighten her life out, and actually start being happy for the first time since her mother's death. Though if you're gonna do a sequel, it does make some sense to explore how the loops actually happened. And again, Jessica Rothe really delivers as Tree in the sequel, and there's an excellent scene with her discussing if the loops being a scientific mishap kinda diminishes what she went through.
Here I thought I was stuck in the same day for some big cosmic reason. I'm facing my mom's death. I had nothing to do with her. Turns out it was just some big scientific fluke.
That doesn't make it meaningless, does it?
Guess not.
One of the things I really appreciated that Happy Death Day to You did was expand upon the extremely minor character of Ryan. In the first film, he's just kind of the douchey seeming roommate of Carter who comes in asking if he banged Tree last night. Now he's actually partly responsible for the time loop.
The Sisyphus Quantum Cooling Reactor. We call it Sissy for short.
You created the time loop, dummy.
Ryan and a couple of other students, Samar and Andrea, created a device that was supposed to prove it was possible to slow time down, but instead this ended up creating the time loop.
That's impossible. That's not what Sissy was designed to do.
So, really, if you want to believe that there were still some mystical forces involved with this in some way, you can, and really, you kinda need to for it to even make sense that Tree was the one experiencing the time loops. Since Tree wasn't anywhere near Sissy, there's really no good explanation why she, of all people, would be the only one to experience the loops originally. And I'm not sure exactly how their machine accidentally created time loops based on death.
You're gonna die. Again, and again, and again.
So yeah, this movie actually starts off focusing on Ryan being stuck in a time loop of his own, happening the day after Tree's time loop from the first film.
I'm not sleeping in my car again. It smells like Hot Pockets and feet.
Oh, but he did. And of course, since he's in a time loop, there's a bunch of slightly odd and notable things happening to Ryan on the way to the dorms, like bums spraying up from the bushes trying to jump scare money out of people.
Dude, what's your problem? I'm so sorry, man.
You know, Ryan, you could have just looked over the bushes there instead of being he who cast the first stone. Ryan is also getting killed by someone wearing the baby face mask. Apparently that's just everyone's go-to for a slashing people up disguise around here.
Who picks a creepy baby for a mascot anyway?
Toombs is dead.
So's Lori.
And who's the killer this time?
Wait, Toombs is dead? In the last loop, we never actually saw him die. Tree shot Toombs up in the loop where she ate the poisoned cupcake at the end of the day. In the last version of the day, she confronted Lori almost right away and kicked her out the window, so Toombs was never even freed by Lori. Toombs probably died of a broken heart. We only go through the loop with Ryan once before Tree realizes what's happening to him, and I love that she's the time loop veteran now and kind of takes charge of the situation.
Well, who is it?
What the fuck? Help me!
Dude, did you dose my Yoo-hoo again?
Wait, she's regularly drugging him? We're just gonna blow past that? The double Ryan's bit is a rather sloppy part in this story. Future Ryan says he was trying to close the loop but accidentally got sent here, and they have to kill present Ryan in order to close the loop. Which makes a ton of sense considering that killing Ryan is exactly what causes time to loop right now. Maybe future Ryan is just an idiot. He did do completely pointless things like lure present Ryan around the school by taking pictures of himself and sending them to him. The only reason you'd think he would do this would be to get Ryan alone so he could more easily kill him, but he was already alone, and where future Ryan lured him to, he wasn't by the end of it. And future Ryan should have known that. Never wanting to have faced himself quite like this, Ryan freaks out and tries to fix things by activating Sissy. I don't know exactly what he thinks he's doing though, when he didn't even know this machine could cause time loops until a few hours ago.
You don't understand what you're doing! Shut up, fake Ryan!
Ryan, you're gonna need 1.21 gigabytes! The double Ryan event gets even more confused later when Tree, after getting knocked through time and space by Sissy, wonders if there are two of her running around, and Ryan acts like that's pretty much impossible.
Does this mean that there are two of me?
I highly doubt it. There's only one of you here, because the other you got knocked into a parallel dimension somewhere in the multiverse.
So why did two Ryans happen? I don't know, and we're never coming back to it. So yeah, when Ryan fires up Sissy this time, he ends up throwing Tree into another dimension and back a day to when the original time loop was happening.
Oh, hey. You're up.
Ryan! Get in here right now!
Though, again, why this seems to only send Tree into another dimension, I'm not sure. When the wave from the machine hit a bunch of people in this room. We learn that this is another dimension when Tree finds out that Lori isn't trying to kill her now. Carter is now dating Tree's housemate Danielle, and we later discover that Tree's mom never died in this world. There really is a lot of good character work done here, with Tree's surprise and conflict about finding herself in a world where she still has her mom. I really like too how we see that Tree's mother not dying changed certain aspects of her life in this world. Tree at one point assumes that she's still having an affair with her professor, Dr. Butler, but he doesn't even know Tree.
I guess now you know why I wasn't in your class today.
I'm sorry. Are you in my class?
Which shows how it really was Tree's self-destructive path after her mother's death, which led her to make some of these poor decisions like this. It's actually now Lori who's having an affair with Dr. Butler now. Well, be careful what you wish for, I guess, Lori. It really is interesting to see the villain from the first movie flipped around like this, and Tree trying to help her realize that the relationship with Dr. Butler is rather toxic, since she's been there and done that. One of the best aspects of this multi-dimensional story is, though, since Tree doesn't want to lose her mother again, she decides to stay in this alternate dimension. The movie sets up, though, that the main conflict Tree has about staying here instead of trying to get back to her own dimension is the fact that Carter is dating Danielle, so she'll lose him if she stays. I kind of feel like that's a bit of a silly comparison, though. Carter's a new boyfriend who, yeah, Tree has some feelings for, but her mother is so important to her, Tree let her life fall apart when she died. I wish part of the reason Tree had conflict about staying here was the fact that she was living someone else's life. This is touched on lightly, but never really explored that far.
None of these memories are mine.
You know what I'm craving right now? One of those giant cinnamon rolls from that bakery in Morro Bay.
From our birthday last year?
You don't remember? You ate 2 of them.
That wasn't me.
Part of Tree's decision to eventually return to her own world should have been the fact that she would have been stealing another Tree's mother from her, and she knows how rough that was on her, and she is only now starting to recover from it. But that point really isn't brought up at all, and I feel like it's something that's hard to ignore. I also don't really like how Tree and alternate dimension Carter kind of flirt around with each other. They act a bit like this is her Carter sometimes, when it's not. It's a different person who's in a relationship.
I hope you realize I'm only going back for one reason.
I'm going back because I'm in love with someone who isn't really you. So I hope that means a lot to you. They share a kiss too, which just kind of feels wrong. I mean, now this Carter might be developing feelings for Tree, and if he tries to follow up with that with the actual Tree from his world, she might not have any interest. The movie seemingly tries to justify this Tree and Carter stuff by randomly throwing in the fact that Danielle is cheating on him, after showing us that while this Danielle is still a bit vain, she's a much nicer person than Prime Universe Danielle, and it feels just unnecessary. It also diminishes the Tree wouldn't have Carter in this dimension, because if he's getting cheated on, maybe they're not going to stay together that much longer. Though we never see Carter actually finding out he's getting cheated on, so it seems like his life is just going to be kind of a mess after Prime Tree leaves. Alternate Danielle still also really goes out of her way to aid everyone in distracting the comedy dean who wants to shut Sissy down because of it causing random power outages. It's kind of a shame too that once Tree's in the alternate dimension for a bit, Ryan's character really stops being all that prominent. Once the group realizes they need more time than one day to figure out how to close the loops properly, they decide they'll just teach Tree all the info and bring it through each loop, which is kind of insane.
I'm not a scientist.
Like, they're supposed to be tackling some scientific breakthroughs with a machine doing something it wasn't even designed to do, and over a few days, Tree's supposed to have a lot of this figured out just by studying with them and going over what didn't work? It just seems like a bit too much of a stretch. Add in the fact they suggest killing herself to reset the loop instead of getting murdered by Baby Mask when Tree was already getting weak from all her deaths in the first movie. It's just nuts. Why is Tree now able to handle a bunch more deaths? And I really question some of Tree's methods of killing herself during the death montage here. You think if you had to kill yourself, you do it in a really quick and painless way, but I guess that doesn't make as fun a montage, right? Also, you're not even allowed to skydive solo on your first go, so I highly doubt she would manage to jump out of the plane in her underwear. What I really wish had happened to fix some of my issues with this movie and change things up more would have been to have Prime Ryan and maybe Carter as well pulled into the dimensional time loop with Tree. That way you could have 3 different characters experiencing all these changes, and they could each have their own dilemma about staying in this world. Maybe Ryan is actually getting some acknowledgement for his scientific breakthroughs in this world, where back home the Dean just wants to shut him down. If you had Prime Carter with them, he could feel really awkward about the Danielle situation, but doesn't want to destroy another man's life that he's currently living. Where he'd pretty much have to do that, though, if Tree forced them all to stay in that world. I think it'd make sense for them to all be attached in the death-based loops if you did it this way too, so if one of them died, they'd all be back at the start of the day. That way, after maybe Tree dying once or twice and it really affecting her, you'd have Carter and or Ryan sacrifice themselves a few times so no further damage happened to Tree. And of course, with Prime Ryan around for the loops, you can have him working on closing them instead of alternate dimension Ryan nonsensically having to teach Tree little by little during every iteration. And to add more conflict, you could have Samar be really jealous of Ryan in this dimension because he's getting all the credit for their work and be one of the killers, so we actually have someone trying to kill one of the main trio. The babyface mask killer in this dimension is actually just going after Lori, and Tree was getting killed just because she inserted herself in those events.
Where the hell are we? This must be one of the floors under construction.
Oh, there's always an abandoned hospital floor under construction, isn't there? Though this hospital is insanely dead everywhere considering all the stuff going on. So the killer this time ends up being Dr. Butler, but not alone. He and his wife planned it together, but then he betrays her.
I want a divorce.
That just seemed like one twist too many and not really needed. Dr. Butler is actually going to be another murderer in the first movie, and I'm glad they didn't go that route there. It also made for a better twist in this one. It was just silly, though, having him betray his wife in the middle of their murders because we as the audience don't really care if he does that, and it makes him look like a sloppy buffoon. They defeat the evil Dr. Butler because of magnets, and and him not knowing how they work. The good version of Laurie survives as well, just as the comedy dean is about to shut down Sissy, which is really odd because in a previous loop they're about to close the loops uninterrupted by the dean. It was Tree who stopped them there by running a car into the power substation after she finds out about the murders at the hospital.
I can't lose her again.
You're living someone else's life that doesn't belong to you. Your pain, that loss, it's what makes you you. But you have the chance to do something other people only dream of. You can say goodbye.
Again, the most powerful scenes in this movie involve Tree's hard decision to say goodbye to her mom, though I think the speech about this not being Tree's life would be stronger if this was Prime Carter delivering it. And it would have been nice to get more actual character development for the proper version of Carter. After Tree gets back to her own world, there's a mid-credits scene where government agents from DARPA recruit the gang because they're going to experiment with time loops. This by far is my least favorite scene in the movie. It's just stupid.
So we just need to find a test subject.
You want to trap somebody in a time loop? That's messed up.
Yeah, it is. And Tree, more than anyone, should feel that way. So what's she gonna say?
I think I have the perfect recruit.
No. I just hate this whole thing. Tree deciding it'd be funny to trap Danielle in a time loop is just mean for no good reason. And I hate the idea of them just turning into some government-led team to use time loops. It dumbs it down and gives them too much control over it, plus it takes away any mystique about it. It unfortunately doesn't look like there's going to be a third Happy Death Day at this point, but if there is one, I really hope they don't follow that setup. I'd just have the DARPA thing not actually be in the Prime universe and have their experiments cause an interdimensional issue, which is what gets the Prime counterparts involved. And it'd be great to have them go through a few different dimensions, which is something I wish had happened a bit at the beginning of this movie. It would have been neat if every time one of them died, the loop would start in another dimension until Ryan is able to stop those shifts and they end up being stuck in the Tree's mother is alive dimension while trying to figure out how to stop the loops. So those are my mixed thoughts on Happy Death Day to You. Still a really enjoyable film, but I can't help but really wish there had been more than one person going through the loops this time to really change it up.
Hey, it's still not my birthday, and now I'm stuck in another dimension. Wait, what?
Hello? What? This is past Phelan who's still in the hurricane? Why are you calling me? You're bored because the power went out? Look, I don't have time for this. Huh? Oh. I do have the time because I'm stuck in a time loop? Guess I got me there!
I don't like this movie, doesn't look too friendly. This bootleg is so fake, that toy is gonna break. Phelan, don't let me down, you need to be around. Grab that chocolate pizza, I live a life because I want. Phelan, so famous, bring on mortal comedy. Phelan, so famous, an animation movie. Phelan, so famous, what really is so fun. Phelan, so famous, what's your opinion about?
Oh crap! Looks like I've opened up some kind of hole into the space-time continuum! Either that or I'm just an idiot filming the opening of my Happy Death Day to You review in the middle of a hurricane, and I can't get out of my pocket. That's good.